One of the hardest parts of healing isn't doing the work, it's doing it and feeling like you're not getting the results that you want. Welcome back to the Broken and Brave podcast. There were moments in my own healing journey where I truly felt stuck. Like I was trying, I was doing the work, and yet nothing was really changing. Now, in hindsight, things were, but not to the extent that I wanted. And so there was a great deal of frustration. And there were even times, I'm going to be real honest here, where I was like, I wish I could just go back to the way things were before. Ignorance was bliss. Now, I could have, that's always a choice. And I want to acknowledge if you feel like that, that can feel incredibly discouraging because it can make you start questioning yourself and can make you wonder if you're missing something or if this is just how it's always going to be. And it won't. What I didn't understand at that time is that I wasn't actually stuck. I really wasn't. I just couldn't see what was really keeping me there. So today, I want to give you a few things that I wish I knew that would have helped me move through that so much faster. And if you missed it, make sure you go back to last week's episode, part 1 of What I Wish I Knew. Without further ado, let's dive in. Number 1, forgiveness isn't making what happened okay. For a long time, I resisted forgiveness. Remember on episode 1, I said I fought life. I kind of fought all of it, okay? Now, I thought that forgiveness meant it was okay, or it didn't matter, or they were right. And none of that felt true for me. But what I didn't understand was that forgiveness wasn't about the other person. It was about releasing what you're still carrying so that you can be present today rather than stuck in the past. And more importantly, more often than not, I actually needed to forgive myself first for not knowing what I know now, for coping the way I did, which oftentimes was ineffective, and for staying in patterns longer than I wish I had. There was a lot of self-judgment. I want you to ask yourself, where in your life have you been harshly judging yourself? That judgment was keeping me stuck more than anything else. Number 2, not feeling my emotions was creating my anxiety in many ways. I used to think I'm just an anxious person. That's just my personality. But what I didn't realize is that I wasn't actually feeling my emotions. I was very often avoiding, suppressing, numbing, and overthinking instead of feeling. And that creates a lot of pressure in the system. And I'm curious for you, if you pause right now and you ask yourself, okay, what am I avoiding? Rather than am I avoiding, a yes/no question, what am I avoiding? Because if you're human, you're probably doing it. What am I suppressing? What have I been numbing? Where do I choose to overthink rather than to feel? Get really curious with yourself there. My anxiety wasn't random. It was my system trying to process what I wasn't allowing myself to feel, what I was pushing down. And when I started allowing myself to feel, that changed everything because it meant that, okay, this wasn't actually me that was broken, which I had this core belief that I was broken. It was my system doing exactly what it was designed to do. Number 3, I was controlling because I was scared. Now, full transparency, sometimes I would not even allow myself to know that I was a control freak. I remember having a conversation with somebody about this who is a psychologist as well. And I was like, oh yeah, I don't really try to control much, but I was in total denial. And there was another part of me that knew, like, I like to control. I like things structured. I like things in a certain way. And underneath that, I was scared. Scared of uncertainty, scared of discomfort, scared of things not going how I expected. So control wasn't the actual problem, and it isn't a problem. Fear was. Now, when you only address the control, you may be stuck in managing behavior. And you know that I'm here to address the root cause of things rather than to put the Band-Aid on a situation. And when you understand the fear beneath it and you change your relationship with it, real change happens. Number 4, I was pretending more than I realized. And this one is really hard to see until you see it. So I'm going to give you some examples. I was pretending to be okay when I wasn't, calm when I was overwhelmed, confident when I was doubting myself, and just fine or okay even when a boundary was crossed. And I got pretty good at it. But that disconnect between what I felt and how I showed up, it was exhausting because my nervous system knows you're not being real with yourself. And you know what? All that pretending often, I will say at least sometimes, turned into resentment and anger. And what I wish that I knew then is the more you allow yourself to be honest internally, the less energy it takes to exist in the world. Number 5, my worth was tied to accomplishments. Now, that's the way that things go in society, right? We are raised to try to get the best grades as possible, and we're rewarded for that, and it's reinforced. So this is understandable, and you can break this pattern. I lived in the belief that if I do more, I am more. If I achieve more, I'm worthy. If I perform, I'm enough. I want to tell you about a story that just popped in my mind, actually, in terms of worth being tied to accomplishments. One of my role models as a child was Tara Lipinski. She was an ice skater who won the Olympic gold medal at, I think she was 14 or 15. I can't remember for sure now. It was a while ago. And I loved and still do ice skating. And I was at the point where I was like, well, I'll never be able to accomplish what she accomplished by that age. So I'm not good enough. And I quit. I stopped ice skating because I didn't feel like if I could do that, I was good enough. And so there's a lot we can extrapolate from that example in parenting, but also just for yourself. And what I want to note there is, where in your life are you falling into all or nothing thinking because you have tied your worth to a certain outcome? Where do you stop trying because you tied your worth to a certain achievement that you may or may not have any control over? In my life, I was in this constant cycle of proving, even in healing, trying to do it right, trying to get there faster, trying to do it at a super young age, and never feeling good enough was exhausting. It was exhausting. And it can keep you from getting the things that you really want in life: connection, peace, freedom, happiness, all of it. And there is a way to separate the tie between your self-worth and your accomplishments. And it removes so much pressure and actually allows you to create more of the life you want a lot easier. Number 6, when I felt stuck, and I really want you to pay attention to what I'm about to say, I wasn't actually stuck. There were hidden payoffs. There are so many moments in my healing journey where I did feel stuck, genuinely. Like I wasn't making progress, like I was doing everything but nothing was changing, or where I had to stay in a situation even though I realized I didn't want to anymore. And that feeling is one of the most discouraging places to be, because it can make you question everything. It can create a feeling of helplessness. And have you asked yourself questions like, why am I still here? What am I doing wrong? Is this just how I'm going to feel? I guess I just have to do it even though it's not what I really want. And what I didn't understand at the time, and probably if you are here actively listening to this podcast, this is going to be true for you too. You're never stuck. There were parts of me that still believed staying the same was safer. And that's what we call hidden payoffs. Things like staying in control feels safer than letting go. Avoiding feels safer than risking discomfort. Overthinking feels safer than feeling. And so even though those patterns were exhausting and I didn't want them anymore, they were also familiar. And familiarity feels safe to the nervous system. So there was this part of me that wanted to change, and there was another part of me subconsciously that was working just as hard to keep things the same. Not because anything was wrong with me, not because I was broken, just because my system was attempting to protect me. And what I wish I knew is if you feel stuck, there is always a reason. And it's almost always not what you think, even if you've worked so hard to try to figure it out. And it's something usually that's underneath the surface that feels safer staying where you are. And until that thing underneath the surface, and usually it's more than one thing, but we'll just say that thing, until it gets seen, it's going to feel like you're spinning. All right, number 7, getting support changed everything for me. For the first few years of my healing journey, I tried to do it on my own. I did learn a lot. And I also stayed stuck in patterns that I could not see. I was blind to it. And it wasn't until I invested in a coach that everything started to shift a lot faster because she could see what I couldn't. The blind spots, the patterns, the black and white thinking, the all or nothing loops, the pretending, the giving my power away. I could just go on and on and on. And more than anything, she helped me see the places that I thought I was stuck. She helped me see that I actually wasn't. And that changed everything for me. So if you're in a place where you're doing all the things and something still isn't clicking, it might not be about doing more. It might be just about being guided differently. And that's exactly what we do inside of Brave Academy. It's not just learning, it's highly supportive from me to help you see what you can't see on your own so that you can create real change in how your system responds. And if you're ready for that, all you need to do is send me a DM with the word Academy so that we can chat, no pressure conversation to see if we're a good fit to work together. All right, I'll see you next Tuesday.